Hello everyone and welcome to another game I played on PTCGO. For this match I'm going to be using once again a Gengar deck, but this one uses Robo sub instead of using Trevenant. It's a slightly different strategy, but I think in the grand scheme of things it might be more effective than putting Trevenant up there and getting the item lock. And as you guys can see, I'm going to lead off with Gengar, and just to clarify, this is from last format or right before Primal Clash was released. So slightly different rules here if you guys are watching this now, because I did tape this a little bit earlier. So my opponent is going to put down a Kyurem and a Deoxys EX. She's playing a Team Plasma deck, but with Kyurem, which I don't really see much of anymore. So he just attached a water energy and ended his turn. I played an N and then I played a Robo sub and a Mewtwo, and I'm going to use Night Attack to place 3 damage counters onto Kyurem. I don't really see the point in placing them on Deoxys. He's probably not going to attack with that, and I'm probably not going to use Night Attack as long as I can avoid it. So now my opponent here will probably play some form of Chorus Machine, I think, in his deck, but we actually see a second Water Energy, a Muscle Band, and a Keldeo go down, and then an N, so he can attack me here and actually take out my Robo sub, which will be annoying. So Kyurem does do a number on Robo sub, so he will Team Plasma Ball for a Deoxys and knock out my Robo sub. Doesn't get a prize, but definitely does produce the annoying effect of hindering my strategy a bit. I'm going to put down a second Gengar EX and then put a double colorless onto the active. Here I'm debating whether or not to Juniper my hand away or use the Pokemon Fan Club. First I'm going to use a Starling Megaphone, and then I'm going to use a VS Seeker and actually get back that N. I realize I don't want to get rid of that mystery energy in my hand, so I will just shuffle it back in with N. And I managed to get a Skrelp and a Dedenne, which are 2 cards here that may come into use. I can here now use Dark Corridor, hit for 60, and I can switch into the Gengar that is not damaged and just switch it into the active, since I know he probably won't be able to knock it out. But he might be able to. So now it looks like he's going to play a Jirachi EX. Maybe he'll go for a Deoxys or a Muscle Band or something, and it actually looks like he's going to go for Chorus, and he's going to rush in and switch back into Kyurem, and then Chorus Machine. So that'll allow him to do tons of damage with that Muscle Band that he just attached as well. And now he's going to play that Chorus. So will he be able to get the knockout here? I think he's 10 short. And we're waiting to see what my opponent does. He might be trying to find a way of getting the knockout. Another alternative would be to use Frost Spirit and to attack the Gengar on the bench. It looks like my opponent puts down a second Kyurem, attaches a water energy onto that. And it looks like he's going to go with that strategy. So he uses Frost Spear, hits the active for 70, and actually goes for Skrelp on the bench, since Drigalgi is kind of a nuisance here. So once I've evolved, which I do just now, I will be able to lock anything that's poisoned into the active spot. So here I'm going to Night Attack actually and knock out the active Kyurem, leaving my Gengar as pretty much a sacrifice. It's been heavily damaged, and I don't mind losing it, since my opponent doesn't have too much energy on board. So he's going to put down a Kyurem, bring out another Deoxys thanks to Team Plasma Ball. He's also going to play a Computer Search here. I wonder what he's going to go for, or if I'll even see it this turn. Looks like another Deoxys hits the bench and a Chorus Machine, so it could have been any of those things. And finally we see a Skylab played, and his hand still has 1 card in it, so I don't know what he's going for here that he couldn't have gone for with the Computer Search. probably, I thought it would be a support for next turn, but it's actually a switch for next turn. So he's going to knock me out and not doing any damage to the bench, which I find surprising. He could have knocked me out. He had computer searched or Skylight for a silver bangle, but I guess his deck might be one of those that chooses not to run those in favor of solely running Muscle Band. So here I'm going to use Sacred Ash, bring back a Gengar, I put down a Dimension Valley, and then just Juniper my hand away. So here I do have a few good cards to use for next turn, namely Lysander and Escape Rope. But here I'm just going to Dark Corridor for 60 and retreat into Wobbuffet. This will make it so that my opponent cannot rush in and thus cannot attack or switch out. So that switch he used Skylight for last turn is now fairly useless. But let's see what my opponent does. He's going to Sycamore his hand away, getting a fresh hand of 7, and puts down a Psychic Energy and a Muscle Band onto Deoxys, and then just passes his turn. He is poisoned, so he takes damage in between turns. I'm going to put down a Toxicroak EX and put down a DCE onto it, just so I can potentially attack once Wobbuffet goes down. But I think I can switch out here and see what my opponent will drag into the active if I use Escape Rope. And I could always follow up with a Lysander depending on what comes up. So he's going to put down a Keldeo, not exactly what I want to see. So now I'm going to use Lysander, bring up that Kyurem with energy, and get it out of play. It's only 1 prize, but it's the only thing on his side of the field that is ready to attack. So I will use Night Corridor and knock it out, and once again send up Wobbuffet into the active spot, preventing Keldeo from using Rush In. So my opponent puts down another Kyurem, uses VS Seeker to bring up a Chorus from the discard. This is going to net him 10 cards, so maybe he'll have something in his hand to make a comeback here. We're tied in prizes, but the momentum is definitely shifting. So he can't attack, but he does attach an energy onto the bench Kyurem, and now he has a Deoxys in the active spot. So here I have a VS Seeker of my own, along with a Juniper and N, and I'm debating what to do. I want to play down that Psychic Energy, but I don't really know what to play it down on. And I guess I'm going to go for nothing, it looks like. So here I'm actually going to play VS Seeker and bring up that Lysander, so I get to use that card again this turn. And here I'm going to change my mind actually, so I decide that I'm not going to play Lysander this turn, but I do want it in my deck. And I don't exactly want to play the Psychic Energy quite yet, so I will instead end, hoping it can draw something better. I do get the Lysander back, so I'm thankful for that. And I do get that Psychic Energy back, which will allow me to do not that much damage. I was planning on retreating if I drew a Mystery Energy, but since I drew that Psychic, I will attach and just attack. I don't want to burn that energy and lose it, so I'll just leave up Wobbuffet as a sacrifice if he can knock it out, but he actually can't, so he can only hit for 100, leaving me with 10, which is good for me. And here I'm going to use Psychic Assault again, and this time I hit for 60. Last turn I hit for 20. So that was not a terrible move. Now his Deoxys is heavily damaged, and I do have a Lysander in hand in case he wants to retreat it. But scratch that, he plays an N, but I do get 2 Chorus off of that. He's going to manually retreat his Deoxys and hit me with Frostbeer. He manages to hit my bench Gengar, and I'm just going to send it up. And now it's time for some Robo Sub fun time. So I can put one down on the bench and hit him with Night Corridor, and then just retreat into my Robo Sub. But first I'm going to attach an energy onto Mewtwo and then play my Chorus. This gets me a Veerbank City Gym, which I will use here. So that'll take advantage of Dark Corridor nicely and add additional damage in between turns due to poison. Do send up Robo Sub after the Dark Corridor. My opponent takes 30 in between turns. And now he can attack here with Frost Spear and knock out the Robo Sub. But it looks like he's going to retreat and rush into Keldeo, attach a Float Stone. Maybe to retreat into something else, but I don't know exactly what it would be. Anything else might be vulnerable, because I do have powered up Psychic Attackers. And it looks like he just leaves Keldeo in the active. So now he's going to force me to either discard or somehow retreat that Robo Sub. I do attach another energy onto Toxicroak, and here I'm debating what to do. So I'm going to discard Robo Sub. Not exactly the thing I wanted to do there, since I know I don't think I have that many left, and I will Ultra Ball away those Pokemon fan clubs just to thin out my deck a little bit, and I get a Gengar, and I'm actually going to play that Robo Sub in my hand, so I will be able to Dark Corridor here this turn. I'm not going to play any supporters just yet. I don't think I need them, and I will go into that Robo Sub. So Keldeo can of course retreat here, but the question is, what will he send up? He's leading the prize war by 1, but right now he's not really in any position to take massive prizes anytime soon. But maybe I spoke too soon, so he's going to send up Dragalge with a Lysander, and just leave Keldeo up there. So I'm not sure why he did that. Maybe he's trying to slow me down, but I do get a Psychic Energy, and I can manually retreat that Dragalge. And I will send up Gengar EX and use Dark Corridor again. And this time I will send up Robo Sub again. So now my opponent is knocked out, and I take 2 prizes and the lead for the game. My opponent sends up his Kyurem, and he plays Lysander's trump card. So all of our discard piles will be shuffled into our deck. So he was, I think, running pretty low. I don't really see this as incredibly consequential, but he'll have access to resources, and it's kind of a good card to play. I like to play it when I can, and we see the animation takes forever to show each individual card being shuffled back into the deck. So my opponent is going to use Frost Spear, knocking out that Robo Sub and doing 30 more to my bench Gengar. So it's getting close to knockout, but still not there quite yet. So now I'm going to play down, and I'm debating whether or not to bench something or to Juniper my hand away. So I'm going to Juniper it away, getting rid of that DCE, unfortunately. That's a painful thing. I'm hoping I can hit one of those Robo Subs that are now in my deck thanks to Lysander's trump card, and I do. And getting rid of that DCE is not too bad, since I do now have potentially more energy cards thanks to Lysander's trump card. So I will knock out that Kyurem, send up Robo Sub, and take a prize. And now my opponent is going to send up a Deoxys with a Muscle Band, heavy damage, and no energy. He plays a Chorus Machine here, and an N, so he's going to bring me down to 1 and get himself 3 cards. But the question is, will these 3 cards be useful? And it looks like he can't attack, so he's just going to end his turn. I'm going to remove Robo Sub from the active and send up Gengar, and this will be it. So I can take the win with Dark Corridor, doing 120 damage, and I will just send up the Dene for the win. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this match, and stay tuned for more in the future with the new Primal Clash set.